Pro-law and order immigration advocates in America whine about the emotional arguments and unhinged publicity stunts used by the open borders, abolish-ICE anarchists to sway public opinion. But when they use these emotional arguments, the abolish-ICE, immigration and customs enforcement crowd are merely playing to their own personal strengths, irrationality, magical thinking, and projection. The important issue is that law and order advocates, like us, have failed abysmally to use our own emotional arguments in changing minds on the immigration topic. Indeed, the most persuasive emotional arguments strongly favor secure borders and effective immigration law enforcement. Let's begin by understanding that a nation's leaders should be most concerned about the safety, well-being and futures of its own citizens the same way that rational parents must prioritize the safety and well-being of their own children above all others. From a nurturing perspective, pro-law and order immigration advocates will have an edge by using this argument. While we are on the topic of children, consider how the DREAM Act and then DACA were sold to us on the lies that this legislative detritus was supposed to help young immigrants, who were brought here as children and had no control over their situation. Of course, those young immigrants could have been in their mid-30s and simply had to claim to have been present in the U.S. prior to their 16th birthdays. Then, when that bill failed to pass, President Obama cobbled together DACA, again claiming that this was about the children because Congress had failed to act. I wrote about this deception in my article, DACA, the Immigration Trojan Horse, how the original DREAM Act was designed to cover 90% of the illegal alien population in the U.S. Now the press, and the Democrats along with certain judges, have gone off the deep end where an estimated 3,000 children have been separated from their parents along the U.S. Mexican border when they were caught being smuggled into the United States. Had their own caregivers not brought these children across the border, in a brazen act of law-breaking, there would be no separation between family members. The caregivers took those illegal and irresponsible actions. The Trump administration was compelled to act as a consequence of the actions of those law-breaking caregivers. Many of those children were not brought into the United States by their parents, but by human traffickers. This fact has been ignored by the media. Those children's lives were endangered when they were brought by criminals, with whom their parents possibly conspired with in an effort to circumvent our immigration laws. Even the children brought here by their parents or other family members were placed at risk by the arduous trek across dangerous terrain, with its sweltering temperatures, poisonous insects and snakes at every few feet, and with roving murderous thugs of the drug cartels waiting to pounce on innocent people. The incredible hypocrisy is that those now demanding the demise of ICE are deafeningly silent on the mental condition, and the ultimate fate, of American children in foster care. The website Children's Rights posted a section on foster care that included the following statistics. In 2016, over 687,000 children spent time in U.S. foster care. Many of the children were taken from their families in the U.S. because their parents were incarcerated, were homeless or were, in one way or another, deemed unfit to care for their own children. Where is the news coverage about this foster care crisis that involves a far greater number of children in the United States? How many psychologists are rushing to comfort these hundreds of thousands of children in America who are in foster care? Not for several weeks, but as noted above, in some cases, for years. Once again, the so-called concerns about children that have been exploited to evoke antagonism for the Trump administration and immigration law enforcement are as fake as their other arguments. The facts are crystal clear. Our immigration laws have nothing to do with race, religion or ethnicity. Safety, security and employment opportunities for Americans, irrespective of race, religion or ethnicity, are at the foundation of America's immigration laws. The bullying tactic employed by the immigration anarchists, whereby they accuse pro-law and order immigration advocates of being racists and xenophobes, is quickly dispelled by reviewing a section of the Immigration and Nationality Act, Title 8, U.S. Section 1182, Inadmissible aliens. This section of law enumerates the categories of aliens who are to be excluded from the United States. There are absolutely no references about race, religion or ethnicity. Rather, this section of law that guides CBP, Customs and Border Protection, inspectors at America's ports of entry, Among these categories are aliens who were previously deported, removed, aliens who suffer from dangerous communicable diseases or are severely mentally ill and prone to violence, and aliens who are criminals, spies, war criminals, human rights violators or terrorists. Exclusions include aliens who would likely become public charges or work illegally, thereby displacing and suppressing the wages of American workers and lawful immigrant workers. Open borders and a lack of interior enforcement of our immigration laws has enabled transitional gangs to enter the United States and establish themselves in towns and cities around the country. Recent news of MS-13 gang activity has outraged the American public, but the problem has persisted for decades and involves Latin American gangs as well as gangs from around the world. As an INS agent, I investigated and arrested criminals from nearly every continent. Human nature is universal. All humans bleed red, and among all races, religions, and ethnicities, we find examples of the good, the bad, and the ugly. The 9/11 Commission, to which I provided testimony, made it clear that multiple failures of the immigration system enabled terrorists, and not only the 19 terrorist hijackers who attacked our nation on September 11, 2001, but a list of others, to enter the United States and embed themselves. Thousands of innocent people have lost their lives to foreign criminals and international terrorists. Does this not evoke strong emotions? My family, my neighbors and I lived through the terror attack on September 11, 2001, nearly 17 years ago. And I can tell you from first-hand experience that the attacks left those who witnessed them shaken to the core and causing many to still suffer post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, forever impacting them in their well-being. That news report began with this excerpt: psychological damage has led to a higher risk for heart attack and stroke among civilian 9/11 rescuers and recovery workers, according to a study to be released Tuesday. The American Heart Association interviewed more than 6,841 non-firefighter workers and untrained volunteers who were at Ground Zero following the attacks on Sept. 11, and found that PTSD cases were twice as prevalent than among the general population. Heart attacks and strokes among those blue-collar crew members with PTSD were 2.35 times higher than the rest of the 9/11 workers, according to the study. America has been too willing to permit foreign workers to enter the United States. This has displaced American workers, driven down wages, and caused large numbers of American families to lose their homes to foreclosure, perhaps forcing more American kids into foster care. Will hearing these facts evoke strong emotions? Time and again, judges and mayors of sanctuary cities have fatuously declared the Trump administration's immigration policies to secure our nation's borders and enforce our immigration laws, to be unconstitutional. These officials should be required to read Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion, and on application of the legislature, or of the executive when the legislature cannot be convened, against domestic violence. Invasion has been defined, in part, as an instance of invading a country or region with an armed force. The Allied invasion of Normandy in 1546, England had to be defended from invasion and incursion by a large number of people or things into a place or sphere of activity, an unwelcome intrusion into another's domain. Facts and emotions are stubborn things. Where the current immigration debate is concerned, facts, the U.S. Constitution, our laws, our sense of morality, common sense, and even emotions, can be used to counter the unhinged and irrational narratives of the open borders, abolish-ICE crowd. Photo, Sarah Merck.